Welcome back to the Talk Like No One's Listening podcast, episode 29, the first episode of 2021. And I wanted to make sure I start the year off right by staying consistent or trying to be consistent by getting back into the podcast world, zone, that is. Get back in here and just do another episode. And as this podcast has moved along, I realized I have no form or structure or theme necessarily anymore. I feel like every episode is just a freestyle. And I just try to talk about things that have just been running through my head recently. And of course, there's always lots of things going on in my head, such as same as everybody else with the state of the world. But on top of that, I have my own personal journey and career and personal life and all the challenges and lessons that provides me with. I've been spending the last 2 months rebuilding myself in terms of my career. I decided to split from what I was doing previously and head in the direction of being a music producer full-time, independent. So I finally got my own studio. I think I recorded the previous episode in this same studio, but it's a facility that's small and compact, but it's just what I need to stay focused and stay productive and really just wrap my mind fully around what I'm trying to accomplish with my career. And recording these podcast episodes is really just me keeping a journal of this journey and all the in-between things that I think of that are completely not related to music. But I feel like maybe I have a perspective that's just unique enough to provide some type of point of view of the world that's just mine, but might be useful for other people to hear or to ponder. That's all this is for me, is just a one-person think tank. One thing I've been doing work-wise, which is new, is I've been producing music. I've been producing these tracks using loops from other producers. Music loops. So instead of me creating a song completely out of music that I'm creating, I'm picking and choosing out of folders and folders of loops that other producers are making and sharing. And I go through them and I find little pieces of music, prefabricated music, that I hear ideas for to expand on and turn that into a full song. So it's usually something melodic. Could be a guitar loop, it could be a keyboard loop, a synth loop, or something a little bit more abstract sounding. And whatever I hear that just inspires me, if I can hear the rest of the elements around a loop that I would fill in and I can hear pretty quickly and easily, then I know that's the one I'm going to pick for the moment and start to work on. And then I just fill in the blanks. I just hear all the things like the drums, bass, either it's bass guitar, synth bass, or 808s. Good old 808s. When will they die? Maybe never. And then I'll take that, I'll fill in a bit, I'll start to create an arrangement and structure of the song. And then from there, I can fill it in a bit more with some details as far as transitions from section to section, adding some extra sound effects, doing some rough mixing on it, adding audio effects to the individual elements that I already have, and just trying to be in the flow of it and be as creative as possible. And this way of working, like I said, is new to me. And before, when I had heard about people working in this way, I didn't really think highly of it. I didn't think that it was really a respectable way to produce music, because it seemed to me like it was lazy or even cheating or something like that. But now that I gave it a shot just to see, I realized there are benefits to it. On the creative side, when you have something to start with already and you're not totally starting from scratch, it's a bit faster to kind of get the idea going. And because a lot of days when you are used to just making everything from scratch yourself, you have good days and bad days for inspiration. It's not every day you can just come in and just crank out a cool song. Some days you really just feel like the well is dry and there's nothing coming. So when you can do something like go through a folder of pre-made loops as a starting point, that's something that can quickly activate the creativity. And that's what it's been for me. So I realized I could be really, really productive and make a lot more tracks in this way. And I'm not the one making the loops. I'm the one, I feel like I'm taking the loops and I'm doing the actual producer work of it, because I'm taking like a little seed of an idea, and then I'm deciding how to turn that into a song and what the other additional instrumentation is going to be like. And sometimes I adjust the tempo of it or the key of it to whatever I think feels best, to whatever I'm aiming for as far as the feel and the style of the track. A lot of it is rap, because that's how this whole type of producing has came about, is through the rap world. So for the most part, those are the types of tracks I'm making. And on the other side, on the business side of it, I used to think it was silly also, because a song would come out, a rap song would come out, and maybe it's, it'd be something new and popular. And I would check out the credits many times, as I do, to see who produced it. And I would see under the producer credit, there'd be like 6, 7 different names. And I didn't understand why that was, but I kept seeing it, and I thought it was so silly. I thought, how does it take that many people to produce one rap beat? Because usually that's pretty much all the production that goes into a rap song, is just who made the beat. After that, someone raps on it, and then you mix it and it's done. There's not really much additional production going on. It's very quick to turn around.
So I just thought it was silly. I thought, what is one guy making a hi-hat, one guy's doing the kick drum, one guy's doing the bass line? I didn't get it. But then when it came time to for me to start working on these loops, and I started to understand, because I would get loops from these other producers, and it would be them, other producers, collaborating together to make these loops. Maybe one person is playing a musical part, like a guitar part, and then another person is taking that guitar and they're adding something on top of that, or they're manipulating that with effects somehow. And that might even pass on to another producer. And then from there, it'll find its way into a loop pack, one of which I would download from one of my sources. And then I take that, and then I'm doing the rest of the way. I'm taking it all the way the rest of the way. So then I realized, okay, I see how it all adds up eventually. Everybody that had something to do with one of these loops or something like that, they all contributed and they all shared the credit. And I thought that was silly as far as publishing splits and songwriter splits. I thought, okay, well, what's the point of doing that? You could make the whole beat yourself and get all of the writing credit, or at least half. Why would you want to share it with 6 other people? But then I again realized, well, if you're working in this way where you are able to create way more tracks than you normally could by yourself, if I normally could make a few songs that I felt were decent in a week because of just the way I work, if I'm doing the whole idea, I'm going to be a bit more of a perfectionist with it and spend more time to get them just right. So by the end of 1 week, I might have 3 or 4 ideas that I like, that I want to keep. But switching over to working with loops, I can make like 20 in a week. And I think about, it's now just a straight hustle. It's like, yeah, it's music, yeah, it's creativity, but you just have to approach it from the idea that it's a straight hustle, and you're going for quantity over quality a little bit. And what can happen is that because you're able to create way more tracks, and because rap music
gets produced at a higher rate than any other genre and gets released and consumed at a higher rate than any other genre, that there's a higher demand for tracks for rap music. So you kind of have to work in this way to keep up with that demand, to keep having music sent out,
to be able to feed all these different artists around the world that are creating. And because rap songs tend to be quick to make, a good rapper can make a whole album in a week, or less. I mean, a lot of well-known guys have made full albums in a day or 2. And so it's a quick turnaround for them to create songs and then to release the songs. If you compare it to more of like a regular pop artist, they might spend a whole year working on an album. So you might produce a song on someone's album, but it won't come out until another year or 6 months. I don't know, it'd be a lot further, but what I'm getting is, working in this way is just micro investing. You're just spreading your songs far and wide, and that if you can land a bunch of placements, even though you're getting a fraction of the song, if you're spreading that across and you're getting a lot of songs, that can all add up in the end. So it's still new, like I said, again and again. So I'm still exploring it, but I'm to the point where I understand the method to this, and I can understand why this is how, at least in the rap world, most people are working in this way. And I start to even see it happening for outside of rap music, for just traditional pop music. A lot of people are producing music this way for other genres. So I just mentioned that as a thing for other people to consider, being open to working in ways that you weren't used to before. Because if nothing else, even if I get no placements out of this, the fact that it keeps me busy, because it increases the creativity and the ease of production flow, it keeps me working a lot more. So in the span of a week, we'll have put in more time just working and being productive. So for me, if nothing else, it's like training. It's like doing strength and conditioning for a sport. It's just something to keep my brain active, working and thinking in the world of production. And I do feel like after the past 2 months of me doing this, I feel like I have gotten sharper, and my workflow is faster and a bit more streamlined, just from the fact of me just going through the process over and over. And that was a big part of why I stepped away from just regular engineering to pursue producing, was because engineering was so time consuming for me that I had hardly any time for production. So every time I would try to sit down and create, I just felt like I was so rusty, and it was such a harder effort to just get one song made. But now I feel like much more comfortable that I can just hop in the seat and get to work and make something happen, either by myself or even, with an artist or a songwriter. It makes me feel like I'm way more prepared for just creating on the spot with people, which a lot of times, well, lately, obviously the past year, that's been different. A lot of people are creating separately from home, but I think a big important skill to have is to be able to create on the spot with somebody else and collaborate and have it be a smooth flow of creativity and work. Because I've been in a bunch of situations when I was as an engineer, I've been in studio sessions, writing sessions with other people where the flow wasn't there. Either the songwriter or the producer, or they just weren't very streamlined with their workflow, and it took them a little too long to create an idea from scratch, and then the slowness of it kind of kills the inspiration of the other person they're collaborating with, and it gets very awkward at that point when everybody can feel that the creative energy in the room is kind of fading away. And then it gets to the point where people start checking their phone, they start texting, they go outside to talk on the phone, then they come back in, and then they come up with some excuse of why they have to leave and they gotta go be somewhere else. And then the session ends and nothing ever comes of it. So I feel like there's benefit to this, and it's yet to be seen what else might come from it, since I think it's still early for me to see out of stuff that I've made and sent out. There's still a grace period where you gotta wait and just see what's gonna be created with your music, if anything. Whoa. But this is the year, like any year, like every year, that it's a new year, so it's time to live life with new energy and a new approach, because whatever your approach was before, whether you like it or not, everyone has to switch up their approach to life. And to me, that's one of the biggest upsides to what we went through last year, is that now you are forced to really take matters into your own hands if you weren't before. Now is the time where you can't just sit back and wait for someone else to fix your situation. No one's coming to save you. But everybody can and should save themselves. That's the only way the world can really be saved. It's like you can't really... There's too many people in the world to have some other governing body take care of other people, take care of the masses, and come up with some method of doing that is fair and helpful to everybody. It's just too much time and resources and effort to help the whole world, or even just one country or one state. But everybody can take care of themselves and get themselves to a better situation and get their lives on track. But the problem is most people just have no idea how to do that, for many different reasons. I think a lot of people are just basically not taught very fundamental life skills. Like, they've faded away. They're just not taught in school. And I can speak on that from
My own experience. I'm sure mine is pretty a typical story of I went through public school, learned a bunch of stuff, but by the time I graduated high school, I realized 99% of that stuff, or close to that, really didn't matter. Learning to read, write, do basic math, I don't know, write an essay. I mean, there's only a few things that I ever applied to life after high school. And even as a
17-year-old, thinking about that, I quickly became very disillusioned. I mean, I probably already was disillusioned for other reasons with society and my life, but once I got out of high school and I realized I'm worthless to the world, to the working world, it was just a common thing. People would always say, once you graduate high school, the only thing you're good for is maybe getting a job at McDonald's or something else equally entry level and minimum wage. So that made me think, what was I doing for the past 12 years? Why did they just steal 12 years of my life? Because we could have been learning things that are practical and useful for life, the way it's actually lived. But no, the older I got, the more I realized I was falling into many pitfalls of adult life simply because I just had no idea of what to do. Something as simple as finances. How to responsibly handle your finances as an adult once you have a job, savings, investing, etc., etc. I thought well, I'm doing this all wrong because I just have no idea. It's never been talked about to me. They could have explained all this stuff in high school. A teenager can understand because, I mean, I'm doing calculus and trigonometry. I can learn about finances. Why didn't they teach me? And then fast forward to now, and then I realized that's all. It's all by design. It's all by design. Let's switch it up. I recently started a new diet because I had felt like that I just wasn't feeling good internally for the past year. And I just felt it increasing, and it wasn't anything necessarily specific I was feeling. I just didn't feel good. I felt like something inside me was just gradually getting worse and worse, and I don't know what it was exactly, but I just felt like I needed to take action and really get a bit more disciplined and strict with my diet. So I did a good amount of research and decided that a ketogenic diet was something I wanted to try. Something a bit more simple, because I felt like maybe I was just eating too diverse of a diet. I was eating very healthy food, but also lots of non-healthy food. I was eating a lot of American food, Asian food, just, from all over the world. Living in LA, you just, you can sample it all. And I felt there was just too much going on inside of me. And then you go to the holidays and you eat a bunch of shit food, because that's what you do during the holidays. So all of that accumulated, plus the stress of life in 2020 and all that good stuff. So after doing a bunch of research, I felt like keto was the way to go for me, specifically. And it's only been a few weeks for me now, but I can say that I made the right choice, because I've just, in a short amount of time, I've seen so many benefits to it already. One being my energy level throughout the day is very constant. As far as I don't feel like
I get to that point where I'm starving and I need to eat, and then my brain just powers down and I'm feeling just sluggish. And then I do eat, and then maybe there's a bunch of carbs in the food that I ate. And then
because I was starving, I just overeat, and then I feel full, but then I also feel down because I ate too much. And then maybe a little bit later, then I can, after I digest the food a little bit, or I just gotta kickstart my energy with some more coffee. And that's all just to be able to get my energy back up, just to keep working throughout the day. And then plus, there's snacks. You eat a meal, but then not too much long after, you're already thinking about a snack. And if you have just snacks around, either at home or where you work, and you just have stuff stocked up, if it's there, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna think about it, you're gonna snack, and then to me, it was a constant distraction to have to think about food and deal with food, and just the downtime that it would create, because it would always be the time leading up to when I need to eat that my energy is dipping So it's really, I'm not being very productive with work. And then the time I do spend eating, then there's the 30, 40 minutes after eating that I'm trying to like recover and get my energy back. So I just felt like throughout the day, food was just taking up too much of my time and attention. So with the way I've been eating now, there's zero carbs and sugar and starch. It's just meat and vegetables, basically. And not a lot of meat, like some people might think. It's actually less meat than what I would usually have before. But there's a lot of fat content, animal fat and plant fat, and it's all as high quality as I can get it. But it's been a huge difference in my energy level. I can eat before I start to work, and I can feel energized and awake and alert and clear and ready to work. And I can work a good 5-6 hours straight without thinking about a snack, without any dip of my energy. And I can work straight up until the next meal. So between lunch and dinner, say that's a 6-hour period, I'll eat those 2 meals, but in between, I can work consistently all the way through, and I have a consistent level of energy. So for me, that's been really good to increase my work and my productivity. And then health-wise, I sleep much better. I sleep deeper. When it's time to wake up, I wake up clear-headed. I have some coffee, but even the coffee is different. Coffee, I have coffee and I don't feel amped up. I just feel just regular, just clear and alert. And that lasts, actually. I don't have a crash from the caffeine off of that either. So what I've learned is that, also, the amount of food I eat, because I'm not eating the carbs, I'm just eating just the meat and vegetables. So I'm eating only the part of the food that has the necessary nutrition that the body actually needs. And I'm removing all the part that's really just filler. You think of rice and noodles and bread that a lot of people eat all the time, every day, for many meals. If you take all of that out, you realize it's just filler. And sometimes, or very often, especially in America, people are eating their meals that are mostly that type of filler. So you're not really getting much nutrition, which is another reason why the body still needs a snack. It still gets hungry and wants to keep eating, because it's feeling hunger for nutrients, not just fluff, not just material to put in your stomach. It wants to keep eating because it's not satisfied of its nutritional requirements. So when you cut it down to just eating just the part of that has the actual nutrition you need, that ends up being much less of amount of food. So I can say within a day, the actual amount of food I eat is much less than before. So my stomach shrinks. So I find myself getting full much quicker, but I stay feeling full for a long time. It lasts. I don't get hungry immediately after. And my energy is sustained. Also, eating carbs, the way your body processes the carbs is...
It's a very quick burning fuel. It's like throwing kindling on a fire. It's going to immediately start to burn and catch fire and just flash, but it won't last very long. It'll burn out really quick. So
for people eating a carb-heavy diet, there's a constant need to keep eating and keep snacking, and it just never ends. So that made me start thinking about the way we live in our society with food, and that most people are eating this way. We're taught from being kids, we're taught that this is what is normal, that when you look at the food pyramid guide of USDA, they show you on the bottom level of the pyramid, which is what you're supposed to eat the most of, it's carbs. But carbs are filler, and they basically keep you addicted because they're a constant sugar boost to your system. And the way your brain processes it when you eat stuff like that, it really is like you're getting a little dopamine shot in your brain. So people are literally being addicted to carbs the way a drug addict would be addicted to heroin or pills or something like that, painkillers. So, but because so much of the food that's available to us here in America, when you go to the grocery store, if you go out to restaurants and fast food, it is heavily carb-based. It made me just really think about that and be very, very shocked. I understand from a business standpoint, that kind of food, it's cheaper to make. It lasts longer on shelves because those are basically all the foods that are packaged foods that can stay on a grocery store shelf for a long time. That's all carb-based food. It's cheaper to produce, so it makes more money. It lasts longer, so they can sell it longer. And it makes you keep eating. To me, that's the really insidious part of it. It's like nicotine in cigarettes. It just keeps you going, wanting to just go more and more. Or it's like water that makes you thirsty. So I can understand it. I don't agree with it, of course, but I can understand purely from a business standpoint. If you're selling a product, do you want to sell a product that makes your customer only need a little bit and only purchase the food less and less? And it's also costs more for you to produce? No, it doesn't. So if you just want to make a bunch of money because you're a giant corporation, then you're going to figure out how to make the food cheaper and cheaper and how to get people to buy more of it. And that's what's going on with carbs. So that right there is the source of many people's health issues. And they're just vast, especially in America. America's the unhealthiest population in the world. Meanwhile, we spend the most on healthcare. So I have this idea I always play with in my head that America is just Disneyland if you expanded it out to an entire country. It's just like when you go to Disneyland, it's a manufactured experience. They're manufacturing every part of your experience there. And everything that you do there costs money. You gotta pay to get in, you gotta pay to park, you gotta pay to eat, you gotta pay to get gifts and souvenirs. If you're from out of town, you're paying at a hotel to stay. It's just nonstop. And it's designed for that. It's a manufactured experience to entertain people, but also to pull as much money as they can from each visitor and keep them hooked so that they'll keep coming back. So to me, that's the analogy of how America works. Well, the whole world, but specifically America. From the time you're born till the time you die, the society you live in, the corporate powers that really have manufactured and designed this whole society have done so with the purpose of pulling as much money from each person as they can. And to also just keep you entertained as much as possible, to keep you distracted from what's really going on with you. And that's why I believe public education is mostly filler, just like the food is mostly filler. Because if people have real education and they're learning only things that are of practical use or that are going to enrich a person's individual life, teach them life skills of discipline and hard work, and even just how to be a human, basically. How to deal with being a human. We're not taught that. But if we were taught about how to really properly handle human life, and we're equipped with practical life skills so that we can be self-reliant and responsible for our own lives, then nobody's going to be dependent on this system, and then they lose all their power. Just like if everybody was eating a proper diet that's healthy and nutritious and not filled with junk and filler that's basically just keeping you addicted to eating more of the filler, then what happens? Everybody's eating much less. They're not constantly thinking about snacks. They're healthier, by far healthier. Then what do you have? You just have all the people are doing great. I wish it was like that. Humans are doing great. Businesses and corporations, not so much. But that's not the world we live in. We live in the opposite world. And I've thought long and hard over the years about what the solution is to that. And all I can say is that, at least for me, it's something that I've woken up to and have made an effort to take control of my life and to think for myself and be as informed as I can to make the best decisions for what I need to be doing with my life. And I figured, like I said before, no one can go and just do this for other people on a massive scale. You can't just force other people to fix their lives. And you can't do it for them. Because that's just way too much to do. There's too many people. But it took a long time for me to wake up, and I'm not saying I've actually figured anything out and I've got all the answers. I'm far from that. But at least I can honestly say I found the direction that I want to go in, and I'm walking in that direction. And I feel like it's the direction that I've decided on that is best for me. And I think that's really the important part. You just have to get to that part. You don't have to really, because there is no end to this journey, but at least you have to be able to recognize if you are on your path or not, or are you just on a path that society has already laid out. It's a pre-packaged life where you just do what the status quo tells you to do. But I'm not about that at all, especially now that status quo to me has been really just destroyed in the past year. So why not figure it out for yourself? What is your dream life that you want to live? Take the time to start thinking about what that is for you and how you're going to go about achieving it. You don't got to figure out all the details, but you at least got to just figure out where's your destination that you're aiming for. So at least you could just know, are you going in that general direction or not? And of course, it takes a long time. Like I said, I've been thinking about this for a few years now, and I think I've made progress. I could say I definitely have, but I'm definitely far from the final destination of where I want to go. But because I can say that I've made progress, I can look back and I can retrace my steps, and I say, yeah, I'm heading in the direction that I want. So now that I see that it does work, as long as you kind of stay focused on it and stay disciplined, which is very hard to say, then for me, my dream just keeps expanding. So now it's just, the further I get along, the more I realize, oh, well, I can keep going, I can keep pushing, I can aim for something higher and higher all the time. And yeah, it comes down to just quality of life. That's what I'm aiming for. How can I achieve the highest quality of life for me and my family, and do it in a way to spread and share with other people about how you can go about that. Because not everybody is going to have the same dream as far as what's a perfect dream life for them. But I think what can be common is the method you use for humans to be able to know how to achieve their own dream life for themselves. But like I said before, sadly, no one's thought about this. Just like we go through 12 years of public school, learning mostly nothing. What if we spent 12 years learning really how to do something for ourselves? Look, 12 years is really hard. That's too long if you're already an adult. But I could say just in a few years, 3 or 4 years, really, if you really make your life about self-improvement and self-empowering, yeah, a few years is really enough time to make some real progress. So it's very interesting, this concept that I've been thinking about, that our food and our education, it's kind of the same thing. It's just a system that we're born into. It's very parasitic. It's just we're born into a society that is designed to exploit us throughout our life. It's not designed to help each individual grow into a successful, independent thinking person. But that doesn't matter, because like what I am saying is that we all also have the ability to make the reality that we want. It just takes time, depending on what it is that you're trying to create, and there's just no shortcut. You just have to put in the time and effort and start hiking up the mountain.
And I've been at it long enough between my personal and professional career that I've seen enough things happen, good things happen in my life, that I'm not surprised at, because I knew I had been aiming for these things years back. So when they manifest, I'm surprised a little bit at how they came about, because it's not about really planning how you're going to achieve all these things. It's just focusing on the goal. So when they happen, I'm not surprised that they happen. I know that's all part of the plan that I've had for myself, and that's just more motivation for me to keep going, to see that there is progress and things are working out. And I think the reason why I really am talking about this is because it's really been on my mind a lot because of the shithole that the world has been in. And I'm not waiting for anybody else to fix the shithole. I'm just trying to climb out of it and stay out of it. And go so far past it that I just never have to worry about it again, being in a shithole that is. To know that I've been able to build something for myself strong enough that I know, regardless of what's happening in the world, I can handle my own life and steer it in the direction that it needs to be. And if enough other people were able to do that, the world would be a very, very different place. It would be much more beneficial for people. And if it's better for people, I think it will become better for the rest of the world too. But I think too many people they're just in the dark. They're just in the dark about the outside world. They're in the dark more so about the inside world. So when it came down to me thinking, just like many other people, about how can you help the outside world? How can you fix the outside world? I just realized what many people have said many times before. It's not an original idea, but it's just the way out is to go inward. The solution to fixing the outside world is everybody individually fixing their inside world. Easier said than done, I know. But that's just where I am trying to put my focus and energy from here on out. Because just like everybody else, I've had enough. I live in LA. LA, COVID version of LA is just shit. It's really shitty. So, but I do still live here. So, I don't want it to stay this way, but I'm not gonna fix LA. I can't fix LA. I don't even know if LA can fix LA, but I know I can just take care of myself. That's well within my ability to control. So I'll focus on whatever I can control, and everything else, I really just let it go and not worry about it, not think about it. I've watched enough news and social media back and forth over the past year, so I'm done with that. I really don't need to read anything about any news anywhere, because ultimately it usually ends up not really having anything to do with me or any effect on me. I just continue to live my life and just shut it all out, because
I'm just trying to, just like I'm trying to clean up my body by cleaning up my diet, I'm trying to also clean up the diet of my mind and clean up the things that I have been consuming in my mind and cut out the filler on that end also. So I'm trying to just keep the things that I consume physically and mentally to be only the things that are going to be beneficial to me.
Because I do want things to get better for everybody else and myself. I think it's still very, very possible for things to be so much better. But they won't
Get there if individuals aren't doing their part. No government agency or corporate group of people are going to come up with a great solution that is going to create a great society for everybody. It's only going to be a great society when you have great individuals that make up that society. That's the only way. It's only from the ground up. I've lost faith in big organizations and groups that are in charge to do what is right for the people. So that's fine. They are what they are. I'm not trying to complain about it. I'm just trying to really just go beyond it and not really pay it any mind anymore. Because whatever happens, if I'm not taking care of my own life, then I really can't say shit about anything else. And with that, I will say thank you and goodbye. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Talk Like No One's Listening podcast.